So my name's Eric Hill. I'm with the City of Pigeon Forge Fire Department. I'm the Wildland Fire Coordinator for the city. I'm also the City of Pigeon Forge Firewise Leader, and I assist with the Sevier County Fire Adaptive Communities. Today we're going to be covering the International Fire Chiefs Association's Ready, Set, Go program of what to do to be prepared for a wildland incident that might occur in your area. Currently, right now, the City of Pigeon Forge is a member of the I-Chiefs, and we also adopted this program back in 2011, if I remember correctly. So what does Ready, Set, Go stand for? Ready means to be prepared. Set is understanding the threat. That's why we're having this day today, to understand our wildland threat that we have here in our county. And then Go means to act early. So if we do get a wildland incident and we advise to evacuate an area, it means to go early, or if you start seeing areas that you are concerned with. Why are we here today? So right here on the screen, the next couple of slides, this is a list of historic fires in Sevier County that has pushed us to this point of trying to become a better fire-wise community, fire-wise county. It started back in 2009. We had the Black Oak Ridge fire that destroyed 13 cabins and burned about 60 acres. Then fast forward to 2012, we had the English Mountain Condos fire. The English Mountain Condos fire started as a commercial structure fire. It burned 4 buildings, destroying a total of 48 apartments. And then off of that fire, we burned 175 more acres in the urban interface area and the woodline. That fire also endangered one of our county emergency communication towers. We'll talk about why that's significant here in a little bit. And then 2013, we had the Black Bear Cub fire. That fire also started as a hot tub on the deck of a cabin that spread cabin to cabin, and then ended up causing a spot fire out in the Wildland urban interface area. We damaged 20 cabins, destroyed 54. 145 acres burned due to the spot fire on the ridge across from the initial fire. Stephen Quarles and IBHS conducted a review of this fire. And then fast forward a few more years to 2016. 2016, we had the Chimney Tops 2 fire, or as a lot of people around here refer to it as the Galtenberg fire. That was started as an arson inside the Great Smoky Mountains National Park at the Chimney Tops 2 trailhead. That fire burned 17,900 acres. Once it crossed out of the park into the city of Galtenberg and into the Sevier County area, it destroyed 2,460 buildings in the city of Galtenberg, Sevier County area, city of Pigeon Forge, and like I said, out in the county response areas. 14 civilian lives were lost during that fire. In less than 6 hours, we evacuated 14,000 tourists because we are a #1 tourist location. This is the largest wildland fire on record in the state of Tennessee, and it was also the largest mutual aid response ever conducted inside the state of Tennessee, in excess of 260 departments and almost close to 700 firefighters coming in to respond to this fire that lasted about 2 weeks. And then a couple of weeks ago, Hatcher Mountain Indigo Lane fire. That fire started on March the 30th, about 11:30 in the morning. That fire burned 2,490 acres. 219 structures were either damaged or destroyed during this fire, and it's also the second largest fire in Sevier County history, behind the Chimney Tops 2 fire. So that's a little bit of the history of our fire progression. We've had a few small fires here and there, but these are some of the historic fires that we've seen in our county. The national level response. So Ready, Set, Go was created to help communities adapt to the fire threat, collaborative efforts from local, state, and national resources at the community level. Ready, Set, Go is a platform with tools and resources for this effort. I have the International Fire Chiefs Association's website on here and wildlandfire.org to where you can reach out and get more resources on the Ready, Set, Go program and other collaborative efforts being put on by Firewise USA and Ready, Set, Go in accordance with Fire Adapted Communities model. Like I said, Firewise USA, I've got their web addresses listed here. The Wildland Response Ready, Set, Go program is a fire service and residents working together. So we're taking the fire departments, the Tennessee Division of Forestry, and the community, and putting them together and teaching them what they can do to help mitigate their efforts. The role of the fire department in the response. So our main role is life safety and property conservation and incident stabilization. That is either on a structure fire or wildland urban interface. So that is our role in the response, is we're gonna go out, we're gonna try to stabilize the incident, save lives if needed at the time, and then property conservation, saving other properties from being damaged. The responsibility of the resident, your guys' responsibility would be to, before smoke is in the air or fire's on the ground, of what you need to do around your properties to make them firewise, and create a defensible space. That way the fire department can move on. They can stop at your house, they can check on it. If they don't see any issues, they can move on to the next one. That way we can start getting as many structures protected as we can. And then what steps we're gonna do to work together. That's why we're having this day today. We're telling you guys what you can do, giving you the resources, and telling you we can come out and help you, give you practices that you can do. Strategies, this is also a part of Be Ready. Strategies to address wildland fire impacts on developed property. What can you do to reduce the potential fire intensity that the vegetation will influence? So like I said just a moment ago, defensible space. You'll have safety or zones 5 to 10 feet, 10 to 20 feet, 20 to 30, and so on, of what kind of shrubbery and stuff that you want in that space. Within the 3 to 5 feet area of the structure, something very low, something less flammable, your mulch beds, stuff like that. Maybe changing those out for a rock bed, some kind of urbanite, something like that, because mulch is very flammable. And then what you can do around your structure to decrease structure ignitability, as far as making sure your gutters are cleaned out of pine needles, anything like that. Leaf debris built up underneath your decks, on your decks and stuff like that. Taking your firewood, moving it during the fire season at least 30 feet away from your home if possible, if not as far away as you can, because a stack of firewood we consider as a jackpot of fuel. So if it's right on your deck and a fire's coming through the area and it starts throwing embers, it's gonna throw embers into that firewood and it's gonna cause it to light off eventually. The fire department's probably come through, they've checked it, they've not seen any active fire, so they've moved on. Well, we'll come back through later on and for some reason we've lost the houses because the ember showers come through from the fire and it's thrown embers and we've not seen them. So just little things like that, moving firewood, flammable deck furniture, cushions and stuff like that. If you know there's a fire in the area, go ahead and bring those inside your house. That way the embers are not collecting there. This is the defensible space works. So like zone 1, I talked about 6 feet in. Zone 2 is 15 to 30. Zone 3 is 30 to 200 feet. I know a lot of people in our county don't have more than 30 feet from their property to the next property. What we suggest then is just mitigate what you can. We're not telling you to clear cut your properties. Just remove the lighter fuels moving in. When you get closer into your home ignition zone, start looking at more of those firewise practices as far as mulch beds, changing those out to rock or something else that's not flammable. What you can do that can make a difference, I've already covered it a couple of times. Prepare your property by creating defensible space. The home ignition zone. Start with your home and work outward to your property line. That way, when you start at your home, you're focusing on your home, that being your safe haven, and then you work out towards your property line. So right here in the picture, you can see that they've taken what would normally be just bare dirt, soil, and grass right up against the foundation of their cabin, and they've put down a rock bed within 3 feet of it, and then continued on out with their landscaping as far as their grass. And then talked about the embers. Consider the ember threat. Ember fires can destroy homes or neighborhoods far from the actual flame front. So we're going to go back to the 2016 fire, the Chimney Tops 2 fire. During Chimney Tops 2, that fire started on a Thursday afternoon, and it slowly built, slowly built, slowly built. The day before we had the massive blow up of it, it started throwing embers on ridge lines ahead of the fire. So once it started throwing embers like that was causing large spot fires miles ahead of the actual original fire front. And that's what it's talking about here. Those embers starting those fires miles ahead. I think one spot fire was about 2.5 miles from the original fire front when it started its spot fire. So embers can travel miles and miles through the air and then land somewhere, and they can sit there and smolder and smolder and smolder and then start a spot fire, and it's going to cause your house to burn down. You see the pine needles in the eave of the right here, and then built up inside the guttering. We highly suggest cleaning your gutters out. I clean my gutters out at least 3 or 4 times a year because I have several trees that produce a lot of leaf debris and pine needle debris surrounding my property, and just by wind effect, it causes it to build up. So I have to take the extra steps to clean my gutters out multiple times in a year. Fire-wise strategies: keep radiant heat sources away from the home. So in this picture on the left, you see that they have a rock bedding around their house, and they've limbed their trees up at least 10 feet from the ground. That is reducing the ladder fuel risk. And they've thinned up some of their bushes. They've got low-lying bushes up to their home. And over here on the right, you see a cabin out in the middle of the woods, which we have a lot of here in our Sevier County area. And they've thinned up some of the material. And then there's some more work that they could be doing, but this house will probably survive. This one should as well. There's a lot of other mitigating factors that happen. So once you do this, once you do all this work around your house, removing mulch, cleaning your gutters, maintenance is always important. Maintenance is always important. So like I said, with my gutters, I know I have to do them 2 or 3 times a year. Same thing with removing leaf debris from underneath your decking. Get your leaf blower, get out and blow your leaves away from your structure, and maintain it. That way, you never know when that fire front could come through your area. So we're going to move on to set. What does it mean to be set? Set means to be situationally aware of what's going on around you. And then your responsibility. So at Pigeon Forge, when we start getting increased fire weather, our fuels start drying out. We start experiencing long dry periods with no weather. A couple of us get together, we start talking about our response capabilities. We might start adding additional staffing our Wildland truck with 2 or 4 people during increased fire weather days. And then talking at the county level with the county fire administrator and seeing where the volunteer departments in the area are as far as staffing. And then changing our response model at dispatch. So if we start getting high wind days, instead of sending one department on a possible brush fire, if they get a report of a brush fire, we might send 2 departments to that fire. And then same thing, Chief Puckett's going to be talking here in a little bit about wind-driven fires. So if we start getting high wind days or fast-moving fire day, or get a report of a fast-moving fire, we're going to up that from 1 department to 2 departments, or even 3. And then if conditions start really getting more extreme than that, we have in the county what we call the Wildland Task Force activation. So when the Wildland Task Force is activated, that activates all the departments in Sevier County to respond to their station, volunteer or city, and then each department has a responsibility to either bring a brush truck or a tender to an actual incident that has been reported, or if we're just staging them, we're getting personnel in place. That way, if something does kick off, we can start getting more resources on the road quicker to try to get a handle on this. We go back a couple of weeks ago to the Hatcher Mountain Fire. Hatcher Mountain Fire, Chief Puckett had initiated the Wildland Task Force. Early on in the day, we were experiencing a red flag warning that was issued from the National Weather Service early that morning for the relative humidity being very low, in the low 20s or teens and 20s. The wind speeds being in excess of 30 miles an hour, and the dry time of the year that we were experiencing with very little rainfall in the area. So we activated the task force early that day, and whenever the fire kicked off in Wares Valley on Hatcher Mountain Road, we were already getting more resources on the road than a single department or 2 departments. We had 10 agencies on the road within 10 minutes, I believe was the timing. Also to be set on the fire department side, we need to know the functional needs of the populations in our area. So with home care, do we know our people in our communities are O2 dependent, where if we start cutting the power off to certain areas because we're evacuating them, we're experiencing high fire danger in the area. Do these people, when we cut their power off, are they O2 dependent on a home oxygen and when they lose power, they have to move to a walk-around O2 tank. Those tanks last about 30 minutes. When we start killing power, it's going to be off for a day or 2. When we issue evacuation orders, do some of our people need lifting assistance getting out of their home because they're not mobile enough? We need to know where these people are in our populations. That way we can get out and we can get resources to start helping them early on. Our hospice care patients, special needs children, we need to know where they are in our areas. That way we can get additional resources to them. Assisted livings, do we have an assisted living facility that is in the evacuation zone that we have ordered? If we have one in that area, we might have to call in additional ambulance resource or EMS resources to be able to help move these patients out of this assisted living facility, or what do we need to do to help them come in or to be safe and shelter in place there. If we start killing power, are they going to lose AC, or do they have a backup generator to use to be able to cool or to keep these places cool? Large landowners, farms, ranches, stuff like that, we want to know if they have alternative water sources. Those alternative water sources can be used for us to fill our brush trucks and stuff up on site instead of having to send them miles away to fill up at a hydrant or find another pond. If they have alternative water sources on their property, is there any special access needs that we have to know about? How do we get into their pastures if they have an incident at the backside of their pastures? What kind of animals are out here in these areas? I know in Gatlinburg, there's a couple of landowners that own some buffalo. We need to know about those special type of animals because those animals can be very dangerous to the general population outside of those landowners knowing how to handle them. So they might have to come out and assist us handling them. And then language. Do we have an issue with translation? Do we have the proper people to talk to? And then anybody hearing impaired. Chief Puckett talked earlier during the emergency preparedness about having a go bag. This is a picture of a go kit and it has important documents in it. It has emergency supplies. It has an action plan. I've got right up here some documents that you could fill out your own action plan. It helps you plan and practice multiple exit routes from your area. It assigns a meeting place and also to help you be familiar with your local emergency notification systems. I've got some papers up here for people to sign up for Code Red. That is what we use in our county as an emergency notification system, as well as the iPause system that we used during the Hatcher Mountain fire. Whenever an iPause alert goes out, that goes across all the emergency notification broadcasting networks, the AM channel on the radio, all news stations, and then we have our local sirens here in the community spread out. And then go. What does it mean to go? An evacuation is a local issue and determination. So anybody in emergency services in a command level can issue an emergency evacuation order. That order, once we issue it, it goes to the county mayor or the city mayor or the city manager to approve. They have not ever not approved an evacuation order because if we're telling them this area needs to be evacuated, they're listening to the people that are in the field and they understand what's going on. The action will be different for various residents. Certain residents might, during a voluntary evacuation, they can choose to stay and go, or stay or whatever. In a mandatory evacuation, we're going to physically knock on your door and we're going to ask you to leave. And if you do not leave at that time, just know that we're probably not going to come back at a later time to ask you to leave again because we've got so many other people that we're having to evacuate. And then fire management plans. So we have an emergency management plan that the Sevier County EMA has come up with along with Sevier County government. And all the city governments have emergency action plans that they know how to activate if they need to. What can you do if a wildfire threatens your area? Remain alert and keep informed of the situation that's going on. And then get your go kit and leave the threatened area. So once you start hearing evacuation orders or you start feeling uncomfortable in your area due to your situational awareness, that's when you will get your go kit and you'll get moving. And then you're going to cooperate with local authorities, or please cooperate with any local authorities that come into the area and during the evacuation or the reentry process. Right here's some local resources. I've listed the City of Pigeon Forge Firewise page, the Sevier County Fire Adapted to Communities website. It is a brand new website that we're getting up and running as a county together. And then the University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, the Sevier County Extension, has their own website that ties back into every one of the Firewise communities in Sevier counties. And it has more information on there. That's it. Any questions? All right, thank you all.